Welcome to part 65 of In the Beginning and in the End. This is March 21st, 2025 by Man's Calendar. Maranatha! By the way, Maranatha, yes. It has been a little while because I was having to do some brief breakdowns and stuff for the Lord the last couple of weeks here and or the last week or so, and it's just been a really hectic time with things going on in the spiritual realm, and as well as just, trying to live life. Things been hectic, work's been hectic. We had an inspection. We did well on them, I was told. So that's great. We had an inspection though at work, which had everybody really tore up and nerved up and stuff until it was over. I'm so glad it's over. Everybody seemed a lot calmer yesterday at work because the inspection is over. I'm so glad I didn't have to work the day of the inspection. I appreciate that so much. I appreciate my boss because where I was new and still I'm pretty slow. I haven't picked up my pace yet because I'm still learning stuff, but I'm trying. I'm trying to get better at it. And but I do love my job. I love to work. I appreciate that I have a job. Very grateful for it. And because we have to be able to pay our bills, and I am grateful to have the means to pay my bills. Grateful to the Lord. Grateful to my employers for giving me a chance and giving me a job. Um, Not all of us have the best education in the world. Not all of us can afford to go and do these things. So we get by how the Lord provides. And I am grateful for that. Anyway, I want to get on back into this word. Now we were in Genesis, about to go into Genesis 40. So that's where we're going to be today. Genesis 40. I am well behind on this because I've been trying to do the Exodus and Matthew and different things. It's a little confusing sometimes, I won't lie. But doing these things for the Lord is important. But it is important that we are in the Word and that we are studying and that we are reading and we are being Bereans, as it says in Acts 17, I believe it is. Might be Acts 19. No, I believe it's Acts 17. Yeah, I believe it's Acts 17. We're supposed to be Bereans and study the Word of God. Be like the Bereans. We're encouraged to be like that, to study, to show ourselves a good workman for the Lord who needeth not fear and reproach and stuff, right? So if you're studying this and you know it, the devil's not going to be able to gainsay you. But if you're not studying the Word and you don't know it, the devil will be able to convince you of anything. In fact, there's a lot of people who are convinced that there are things in this Word that are not in this Word. People said it and it sounded good and they thought it was the Bible and they stuck with it. That's called adding to. That's why the plagues are coming. That's what's written. And that is what is happening. And there are idols, your monuments that you're seeking so hard to protect. Those are graven images. Those are idols. You're trying to protect idols. Well, let me tell you something. God is going to tear them down. Those are not of Him. He told us not to have graven images. He said, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image." You're worshiping the beast. You're worshiping mankind with these things, or animals, or things above the earth and in the earth, or under the earth and in the water. You got all kinds of sculptures and graven images crafted these days. It's not just calves anymore. And when I see statues of people, it just makes me think of Nebuchadnezzar every time. Look at the Lincoln Monument and stuff. And that one up there in Washington where he sits, I've never been there, but I've seen pictures of this, and it says behind him, enshrined in this temple as in men's hearts. You ever give that any thought? Yeah, they built that little temple for him there, and then they sculpted him there in that temple, and it says it all. Enshrined in this temple as in men's hearts. Those things that you're building monuments to are things you're trying not to let go of. These are things you're worshiping. You worship the dead, even. You build shrines to the dead. You build shrines here. You build shrines there. But what you're not building is temples of God. Because Jesus is the one true God. And there is no likeness of him. He does not want you to try to do an image of him. He wants you to sculpt yourself in his image. And how do we do that? By getting in his word, learning about him, and sculpting our lives to reflect him, to show him, to do as he would do. Because there is no similitude of God besides Jesus, because he came in the flesh. God did. Because God is the Word. It says so in John 1:1. And Jesus is that Word made flesh. And I have tried so hard to help y'all to understand this fact. But anyway, I want to get into the Word because I don't have much time this morning. I was doing some other things for the Lord, and I gotta go to work. And so I'm asking you all to bear with me today, and let's get on into this, because now we're talking about Joseph still. Remember that. Joseph was put in prison, remember? And he was dealing with the dreams of the butler and the baker of Pharaoh. So let's get on into Genesis 40 to kind of recap on what's going on here to help get us all back into the swing of things, back to where we're at. And it came to pass after things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry against two of his officers, against the chief of the butler and against the chief of the bakers, and he put them inward in the house of the captain of the guard into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them. He put him in charge of them. He charged Joseph with them. And he served them, and they continued a season inward. And they dreamed a dream both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream. The butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, which were bound in prison. And Joseph came in to them in the morning and looked upon them and beheld they were sad. And he asked Pharaoh's officers that were with him in the word of his Lord's house, saying, Wherefore look you so sadly today? And they said to him, We have dreamed a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said to them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, I pray you. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, In my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blooms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup to Pharaoh into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up your head and restore you to your place, and you shall deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand, after the former manner when you were his butler. But think on me when it shall be well with you, and show kindness, I pray you, to me, and make mention of me to Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews. And here also have I done nothing that should put me in the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that his interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. And in the uppermost basket there was all manner of banquets for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation thereof. The baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up your head from off of you, and shall hang you on a tree, and the birds shall eat your flesh from off of you. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast to all his servants, and he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler to his butlership again, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. That is sad. He gave him his word. We're going into chapter 41 in the next part. I'll see you there.